Hello everyone, Jaeger Anderson here with Jaeger Anderson Photography, and today I am going to be doing a little product photography, and I am super excited about this because I haven't done a product shoot in a very long time, and I figure, you know, I've been watching a lot of photography tutorials lately, I've been learning a lot, and I'm like, I haven't actually put the pen to paper in a while, and I haven't produced a photo. So I'm gonna be photographing this wireless mouse here that I bought on Amazon. A fun little hack you can do as a small little business photography owner is every time you buy something new, make it a habit of trying to photograph that thing. I don't do it with everything, but every once in a while I get something and I'm like, that would be cool to photograph. You'll start to create a really nice portfolio of products. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the shoot. First things first, I gotta clean up my studio. It's very messy, as you can see. I got all this video stuff, and it's not doing me any favors. So we're gonna start with cleaning, and then we're gonna get right into the shoot. So a big part of product photography, or photography in general, is there's a lot of guessing and checking and revising. It's a bit like a science as much as it is an art. You know, a photographer can kind of have an idea inside their head how they want an image to look, but a lot of it is just tweaking things and knowing where to move left, where to move right, as far as the, you know, the arrow points as far as correctness goes, and leveling out what you're looking for. That is kind of contingent upon your knowledge, right? So if you're kind of like shooting in the dark and you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to be able to create great photos if you're just kind of aimlessly flapping around. But a lot of guessing, checking, and revising can be done if you know what you're doing, but there's still a lot of guessing, checking, and revising as part of that process. So there are three main ingredients that I want to have with any product. And that is sharp lines. You know, the product needs to be well defined along the edges. I don't want the light to softly wrap around it. Otherwise it'll look kind of soft and kind of gross, and we don't want that. We want nice, clean edges on our product. Number two, we want a gradient of light. Gradients are sort of what looks nice. You know, we don't want, I imagine there's a gradient of light from this way to this way on my face, and depending on how I move, there might be more or less contrast on my face. I don't know, I can't see myself. But the point is that if you are having a light directly onto your face or directly onto a product, it's gonna look pretty flat. And we're not going for flat, we're going for, you know, some nice gradients and sharp lines. And lastly, the important thing that you want is some punch. And you get punch by manipulating highlights and adding some sort of dynamism to your image. And that's what we're gonna be working on. So first things first is, I think we're gonna have to try to figure out what our backdrop is and also get our wireless mouse up to date, and by that I mean attached to something that will allow us to photograph it well. I don't want to photograph it flat. That'll be a lot harder for me to photograph. It'll be much easier if it looks like this, as you can see on the front of the box. If it's directly up and down like that, as opposed to shooting it like that, that won't be easy to do. Or I mean, it'll be harder to light because it'll be on a flat surface. It'll be hard to get the lights to sort of shoot in from different angles. So I'm gonna start by setting up a backdrop. This is a black mouse, and I'm gonna shoot it on black so that it'll need white lines to define the edges of the mouse and a lot of cool lights. That's what I'm going for. I'm going for cool, edgy. So if you think about a lot of tech products, you know, they're generally on a bright white or black backdrop, and they're like kind of floating in a space, and they're sort of very edgy. There might be some color, but it's really all about the product and that technology and sort of a modern, futuristic type look. So that's what we're going for. We're going for modern, futuristic, make you want to buy it, and of course, we got to show off the logo in some capacity, so that'll be something to think about. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get our black backdrop, and we're gonna start setting up our mouse. So something that I wanted to hop on and quickly talk about is that I started to take my mouse out of the box. And then I realized, uh-oh, I don't want to get my greasy little sausages all over my brand new fancy mouse. So instead of messing it up, I'm gonna use some gloves, some nice white cotton gloves, and that will keep my fingerprints off of the murder weapon. I mean, the product. So that's what we're gonna do. And I just wanted to point that out. If you're working with a product, you gotta make sure that you're not getting your fingerprints all over it, because that's just not gonna work out when the police arrive. So yeah, pro tip. All right, so where are we at this point? Well, we're still chugging along. I'm gonna use my favorite light I got here. I got a couple of these Einstein Posse Buff, and we're gonna use this boom giant softbox here. And that's gonna be our main backlight source. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put that with the Posse Buff Einstein. Excuse me, I got hiccups and I'm trying to, side story. Anyway, so we want to use the softbox with the Einstein, and it's gonna be the main source. And what the light is gonna do is it's gonna shoot through and it's gonna come in contact with something that's black. And I have this black board that I can use, but I'm hoping perhaps to use something else. This might work, it depends on how dark it shows up, but I might have to use some black duvetine or something in order for it to be black enough, because I want it to be really rich and dark. Velvet works great, but I don't have any velvet, so that might be something I have to invest in the future. But what it'll do is the light will, on the edges, will shoot past it on the softbox. So if you can imagine, there's this light, this is one big light source, right? And then there's gonna be a black right here in the main center of it, and then on the edges, the light is gonna be able to come through. And that's gonna give us really crisp, sharp lines around our product. It's very cool, I love it. Every time I do it, I'm like, oh, so cool. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about or explain it a little bit. So let's keep going. It's on. Some bamboo sticks, looking pretty fly. The next question is obviously, what lens are we gonna use? Obviously, that's the next question. And we're gonna go with our classic 100mm lens here. I like it, it does well, needs a little cleaning. Reason why I like this lens and a macro just means you can, you can get in super close. But one of the main reasons why I like this, not just because you can get super up close and personal on the product, you know, fill the frame, maximize the pixels, etc., but because it's a prime lens and it's just super sharp. I also have this really nice Tiffen, polarizer, and what that's going to do is it's going to cut down on any glare that I might get on the highly reflective plastic surface of my mouse. And yeah, after that, I think I need to figure out specifically how I'm gonna light this. I think, am I gonna go soft or am I gonna go hard? And soft light, smooth, hard light, more specular, you can see more detail. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but we'll play around. I'll let you know. So we've got our lens on our camera, 5D Mark III, got our trigger up here. I don't have a receiver on my light yet, but I just wanted to point something out here, which is you'll notice my camera is kind of oriented, kind of looking up, you know? And the reason why I do that for the product, so it's shooting, going down, looking up. And the reason why I do that is because it creates a sense, it's called a hero shot. You know, it creates a sense of importance for the product when you're looking up towards it, right? It puts the product in a position of power. So if I go down here and I look down, it puts me in the position of authority, whatever your subject is. And those are important details to keep in mind. So whenever you're doing a product, you want the product to be the hero. If you're photographing someone important, you know, you don't want to shoot down at them necessarily. You know, these are subconscious things, psychological things you have to keep in mind if you're taking pictures of different things. So that's why we're looking up towards the product. And so now we're going to add our trigger. We're going to see how the backlight responds to that. Okay, so a lot has happened, and even though I've only done some small tweaks, it's important to recognize that these small tweaks have big results. So I took my softbox here and I adjusted it, and I gave myself about 3 inches to 3.5 inches on each side to let the light spill in. The other thing I did was I adjusted it so there was even a more extreme angle on my camera. And the reason why I did that is it made my shot even more heroic. So it's like really down, looking up towards the mouse, making it look like a hero. Now, a couple of things I did was I really wanted to stop down my my camera so that I could take as much information and make it as sharp as possible, right? I didn't want there to be really shallow depth of field on this image, so I had to crank up my power on my light. I got really good results, and I had to bring in my light super close to my table. It was further back before, but now it's nice and right up against it. And you'll notice from this shot that I get some sort of wraparound light, and I don't really want that. So I took this board and I put it right next to my lens so that I wasn't getting light spilling into my lens, but I was still getting the light for the outline of the photo, and that's the result you see. This nice, crisp, sexy, dark, moody image with the light edging out the product. Okay, so I have my next light up here, and I decided to experiment with having a sort of honeycomb with what's called a snoot, and it's just very directional light. It's taking the light, whatever your light source is, and then shrinking it down so it's very directional and it's very precise. If you look here, and I don't know if you can tell, let me see if I can get up there. There's the logo down there. So what I want to do is showcase that logo. That's probably the most important part of your product is the logo. And I'm trying to use this light here to do so, to use this very directional light to do that. Now, because I'm stopped down so low, I'm on f-stop 10, I'm gonna have to really crank this power up. I have my modeling lamp on, but we're not gonna see anything until we really get some power in there. So let's see what we get right here. Nada. Oh, I just realized, like a dumbass, of course, I was like, why is it, I like cranked the power so much. I was like, why is there no power coming in? You know why? I didn't attach a receiver. So let that be known, if you don't have a receiver, the information is not going to be relayed to to your light. So let's get that set up. So what these do is, there is the trigger right here on the camera, and that trigger communicates with the receiver, and the receiver connects to the light. So they communicate with one another, and I'm just doing a little test here. And when they communicate, the light will fire whenever the trigger or whenever the shutter button is pushed. It's super cool. I love it. So what's nice about doing this too is I use big lights like these when I shoot weddings. I take them and I set them on C-stands, and if there's a big tent, or if there's in a barn, and I just put them up in the 4 lights in the corners, just lights everything up, makes for really sharp, really powerful, bold looking photos. It's some people might think that's a bit extreme and just use on-camera flash, but I use both. I use on-camera flash in conjunction with the strobes, and the quality of the photos just goes up exponentially as a wedding photographer. So you can run around and have these things fire off wherever you are because it's all remote access. So fun little fact there. So a couple more technical things here that I want to point out for anyone who's watching this video, is I'm mostly using these light stands for my lights, but I am about to take, so there's my other light stand, it's nothing fancy, but I'm about to take a light and I'm about to hang it over the top of my product. And because I'm doing that, I want to use something strong, which is why I'm going to use this nice metal C-stand. So the couple of things I wanted to point out is, one, there are 3 legs and they're at varying heights. This is the lowest, this one's the next highest, and this is the highest. This highest leg is really pronounced, and that's the leg you always want to be directed towards the weight. So it's going to hang over, and my light is going to hang over here, and it's going to hang over my product. So you always want it to be leaning in so it's not going to fall. So if the weight is that way, that's where you want to have the light. So the leg, the light, the weight, they're all pointing in the same direction so that you won't have an accident. If you have it so that it's, the weight is, you know, if I were to rotate it so it was like this, and then the weight was over my product, if it pulled and was too heavy, it would tilt and it would fall. So that's why we use this leg, this long leg, this tallest leg to prevent that from happening. So the other thing is, when you're putting a light on an arm like this, you have to make sure that if the light is heavy, it's going to be on the tip there. If the light is heavy, you want the light to tighten it down. So this knob right here is what loosens this right here. So I already have it set up the right way, so that way if once I tighten it, once I get the light on there, it'll continue to tighten it. But you can imagine if you had it flipped the other way, it would loosen it. So righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, right? So I have this tightened there. So if it has any more weight on the end, it's just gonna keep tightening it. And that's really important. Those are simple things, but they'll save you from breaking your very expensive lights. Or what other equipment you choose to put on your C-stand extension pole. So just remember that you want it to continue to tighten, and you want to use that nice, tall, long leg there in the same direction as your weight. So let's put the light on. All right, coming in with a little more technique here. So I'm actually deciding to use a beauty dish. This is what they're called, also known as a pan light. They're nice and big. You use them a lot for beauty portraiture, so you think CoverGirl or GQ or anything like that. This is what you use. Now I'm using it a little differently, and you can do this for any type of product photography, but I have this nice gel on here, and what that is, that's polarizing gel. And that's gonna polarize in conjunction with the polarizer on my lens to create what's called cross polarization. And that cross polarization will allow me to have higher control over the highlights on the glossy product. And I don't know if you can tell, there's also a honeycomb grid underneath the gel, and that's just going to give me a little more direction as far as controlling the light is concerned. So polarizer on the lens, polarizer on the beauty dish is going to help you control the lights, and the highlights in particular, on a glossy product. I do this all the time, anytime I'm photographing glass. And I learned this from Rob Grimm's tutorial on beverage photography. Cross polarization saves your life. Yeah, so now you know. The more you know. That's the shoot, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our little adventure here this evening. I had a lot of fun working on this project. I love doing product photography. It's super fun. It makes me super happy and proud when I can look at a product and then quickly be able to be like, this is the light I need, that's the light I need, that's the light I need, and know exactly what I need to do in order to capture the type of image that I want. It's really empowering, and I feel very proud of myself for being able to do that so quickly. And that's obviously not, a reflection of my knowledge. It's a reflection of what I've learned, and I've learned from many great, accomplished photographers, and I wouldn't be Jack Poo if it weren't for all the great education and amazing photographers who have taught me what I know. But I do think it's cool that I can look at a product that I've never photographed before and capture something that I think is pretty dope. So I'm gonna edit this photo and I'm gonna post the final image. And I really hope you enjoy this, and let me know if you'd like to see something else. If you want me to photograph something else, let me know, leave a recommendation. I'm open to anything. You know, it's a pandemic. It's time to be creative. It's time to do fun stuff, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. So see you on the next one.